Welcome to Eternal Manna, the daily devotional broadcast of Grace Gospel Church. We are looking at Psalm 76 and verse 10. Let me read it one more time. Surely your wrath against men bring you praise, and the survivors of your wrath are restrained. Now, there are two promises that we need to look at in this verse. The promise to bring good out of even the wrath of man. God is able to bring great good out of the wrath of man. That's one promise. And the second promise, which I find so encouraging, the promise to restrain wrath and evil. We all love to talk about God's redeeming grace as seen in the cross. We exalt that redeeming grace. But do you know that there is a flip side to it? Not only God's redeeming grace, but God's restraining grace. And how often in my own personal life I have prayed for God's restraining grace. God restrains evil. God has absolute control over the passions of people, as he has over pestilence, earthquake, storms, and can make all ultimately redound to his glory. And the restraining grace of God is a gift given to us. So how does that work itself out today? For example, God's restraining grace, when he doesn't allow us to say some words that we were ready to use. All of us have had the experience of speaking and regretting what we have said. But God's restraining grace will prevent us from speaking those words in the first place. And every day we need to pray that God will restrain us from saying words that might hurt instead of heal and help. So as we go through the day, we are conscious and alert that God's restraining grace is at work. God's restraining grace is also at work in stopping us from engaging in certain actions. Actions again, which we will regret later. Maybe you wanted to send an email to someone and it was very impulsive. You were reacting in the flesh. You were reacting emotionally. And you wrote it out. And it was not a pretty email. There was a lot of venom in that email. And you are about to press the send button when God's restraining grace comes into play and prevents you, hinders you from sending that email. Instead of sending it, you delete it. That's God's restraining grace. And a lot of damage was averted because of God's restraining grace. By the way, writing out a letter and pouring out your feelings, there's nothing wrong. It's a good way of expressing yourself. But once you have written it, you destroy it. You destroy it. So that's again another example of God's restraining grace at work. So every day, you and I can experience God's redeeming grace, salvation, but we can also experience God's restraining grace, and that is sanctification. So avail yourself of these twin graces, which we need daily in our life, so that we can be people of grace. Amen.